Our next speaker is Mr. Bhagwan Singh, Chief of Bureau for Deccan Chronicle.
Good evening, everybody. My friend Bethuwe, my office has promoted me quite some time back, a couple of years back, as the executive editor. No longer I'm a chief of bureau. I'm so glad that the IITians have also taken up this hugely disturbing situation that's been happening in Sri Lanka. Most of the audience here might be knowing about it after the Channel 4, but I know it from the early 1980s, from 1983 actually, when the huge influx of refugees happened after a July massacre happened in Colombo, where Tamil homes, Tamils living there for generations, were targeted. I don't know how many of you have read the Alauddin story or seen the film, where the houses were marked for elimination. So July 1983 in Colombo, the Tamil homes were marked for attack because the LTT ambushed and killed, I think, 9 soldiers. And as a repercussion, hundreds of Tamils were killed, crores of rupees were looted. At that time, 1983, thousands of Sri Lankan Tamils fled the island and came here by boats. And that is when the problem became, the Tamils here, the government here woke up to the problem there and woke up to the racial discrimination. When I started saying I'm so happy and I'm so grateful that the IITians have taken up this cause, how many of you are doing engineering? Can you raise your hands? I know how difficult it is to get into the IIT. I have a nephew who started dreaming about an admission in IIT when he was barely in the 8th class and worked towards that. Singularly focused. So I know how difficult it is to get an admission here and how difficult it is to complete the course here. And in spite of that kind of pressure on you, academic pressure on you, that you have undertaken this very vital duty of raising your voice against a huge injustice that is being done just across the sea. It's not a long distance. I have traveled in a militant boat in 1985 to know what really was happening there. It takes about an hour if the Sri Lankan Navy does not attack you meanwhile. It happened in my case. In my case, the Sri Lankan Navy attacked and the boy sitting next to me was killed and he died in my lap, vomiting blood. He was only 14 years old. My friend Erilan, in fact, you are very lucky. You have 3 hugely informed academicians, human rights activists briefing you in this short period of time, taking you through the time capsule. Erilan spoke about the brave Indira Gandhi. I'm not an academician, I'm a journalist. I have been a journalist for 35 years and one of the biggest assignments I have covered is Sri Lanka. I have covered it from 1983. Many of my friends have died. Friends who have visited me at my house to have lunch and supper with me, who have shared long hours in the evening over cups of tea, are killed brutally. So I've been just a journalist, I'm not an academician. So I can tell you a few events and speak to you from the gallery. Because I sat in that gallery for a long time and watched blood flow by. Erilan spoke about the brave Indira Gandhi. And Deva Sahai, my friend, spoke about the betrayal of India, which continues even today. had the opportunity, I don't know whether I should call it opportunity, of interacting with the then Indian High Commissioner in Sri Lanka. That was when I went for a presidential election in Sri Lanka, and Dixit, who was then the Indian High Commissioner, he dropped by at my hotel at Taj and we were talking. You would be interested to know how India messed up Sri Lanka from then on. And he told me that was the time when Indira Gandhi was all powerful. And the president of Sri Lanka, Jayawardene, was a weakling. Not like Rajapaksa. Do you know what Dixit told me? You're all young people. Not many of you would have known, would have read the history of India in the way it should be read. Not in the textbooks of your classrooms. The way it is unfolding over the years. Dixit told me, he recalled, Indira Gandhi was then advised by a person called G. Parthasarathi, senior, a tall, handsome man from the south. And G. Parthasarathi told her, Madam, India is a superpower in this region. And by virtue of our population and our resources, human resources and natural resources, and we should continue to be superpowers by knocking on the heads of our neighbors. That policy persisted. Knocking on the heads of our neighbors. And so, we knocked on the head of, we created Bangladesh. Now is Bangladesh our friend? Nepal? Maldives? Who is our friend in the neighborhood? Nobody. Everybody says that India is a bully. Is a big brother, a bully. And talking of Sri Lankan issue, Dixit said he was on a couple of drinks and he was in a jolly good mood that evening. Actually, he hated the LTTE. His handling of the Sri Lankan situation was awful, in my opinion. I may be wrong. But he said, at that time, just think about it, you're all young, intelligent people. The powerful Indira Gandhi of the powerful India talking to Jayawardene, who is such a weakling president, presiding over the country where the army, the Sri Lankan army, might be as strong as your Mylapore police station, having 303 as their weapons. No China, no Pakistan, no huge 1 lakh plus military, no artillery, no nothing. In Sinhala, Kotia means tiger. That's how the Tamil militant was called, Kotia. You mention the word Kotia, the fellow will drop his gun and run away. The Sinhala soldier. That was the moray. I'm repeating this diplomat's words. He said, if Indira Gandhi had lifted her telephone and told Jayawardene, Mr. President, you are a wise, statesperson. The Tamils in Sri Lanka have these problems, 1, 2, 3, 4, standardization. The Tamils have to earn more marks to get into the university compared to the Sinhalese. You had the Sinhalese only act. The Tamils have to learn Sinhala to get into the government service. There is discrimination. The Tamils are the minorities. World over, when US, every part of the democratic world recognizes the rights of the minorities. We also recognize the rights of the minorities. If she had said, these are the genuine problems of the minorities, I'm sure that you, as an elder statesperson, you will address them. Internationally, world over, they would have supported Indira Gandhi and the Indian position of asking for the rights of the minorities to be addressed. Instead of doing that, What did the big brother do? Please listen to this carefully, because I was a witness to it. If she had done it, the world would have supported her. Today, there would be Tamil ministers in Colombo, there would be Tamil administrators, secretaries, generals perhaps, maybe judges, maybe attorney general. Because Tamils I know, I have seen, I have lived with them short times when I visited north of Sri Lanka. Much more intelligent, a very intelligent race, not just that, very hard working. Early morning they'll get up at 5, at 5:30 they will go for tuition classes. Clean habits, obsessed with education. Tamils would be calling all the shots. So instead of doing that, what did India do? What did Indira Gandhi do? What did G. Parthasarathy do? What did RAW do? I was a witness to it as a journalist. They picked up this, the boy who died in the boat next to me, they picked up 13, 14, 15-year-old boys, brought them here to Tamil Nadu to create the militant groups, to send them back to take on the army, the government. They thought that will keep Sri Lanka under check. And the wonderful design of RAW, don't create one organization, create multiple organizations so that you can control each one of them, you can make one group fight the other, which is what happened. LTT finished Tello, I have seen. I have pictures of that. We published those pictures. One Tamil group killing another Tamil group. Have you heard of a treatment, of a killing method called necklace treatment? The boy is tied to a lamppost with his hands tied behind. A tire is placed around his neck. The tire is set on fire. He's alive. This was done by one group to another group. What happened? From 1983, 84, 85 till now, somebody here mentioned 1,50,000 Tamils died. If Mrs. Gandhi had made a different telephone call to Jayawardene, there would not have been need. There would not have been any need for these little kids, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids. Today Prabhakaran and so many others would have been alive. Perhaps he would have been the general of the Sri Lankan army today. All these Tamils would not have died. India committed it. In fact, Professor Suryanarayanan wrote in Deccan Chronicle, I think yesterday or day before we published it, that India has blood on its hands. We continue to have blood on our hands by keeping quiet now. We created militancy there when there was no need for it. We supported the annihilation of those groups, including the Tigers, by not just keeping mum during 2009-2008, but also helping Sri Lankan military to kill the Tamil soldiers, the Tamil fighters. And today, in the third phase, when everybody else, including the Americans, who are famous, notoriously famous for their human rights violations, even they are talking of human rights violations. Sri Lanka, accountability, investigation, India is still dithering. They would have continued to dither if only political parties, I don't want to name the political parties, took up this issue, formed their human chains and the wonderful 3-hour fastings by Marina. If they had done it, Delhi would have continued to dither. Now Delhi is rattled because you have come out. The student community has come out. And you have said very clearly, I salute those boys. I saw that on the television. The Laila boys who said, politicians, don't come inside. They drove away the former state Congress President Thangabalu when he tried to address them. And they made it very clear. Politicians don't come anywhere near us. We are in a position to decide for ourselves. Don't pollute us by your presence. So as long as you stay out of politics, Delhi will get rattled. 2014 is the election year. You have votes. I remember a few of us, including me, we went from college to college. I also addressed here, along with the former election commissioner, a few social activists. When state elections happened 2 years back, we went from college to college, pleading, begging students, telling you guys, come out and vote. I'm not asking you to vote for this party or that party. Just come out and vote. Now you have raised your voice. So 2014, you are a force to reckon with. We are talking of getting Colombo to be accountable to what they have done. Now you can make Delhi accountable for what they are doing. My friend Mr. Deva Sahai, a very senior IAS officer, I call upon him, I request him, I beg him, if the retired IAS lobby, the retired IAS association can come together and bring pressure on the serving IAS officers. You know, when you say Indian government, let me tell you one thing. Again, as a senior journalist, I'm telling you, politicians come and go. It is the Babu, it is the IAS officer who finally not just decides, sets the agenda, but also carries out. So, humanists, enlightened humanists like Deva Sahai, the former IAS officers, should influence the bureaucracy, the decision makers. And you, young people, can set the agenda, can clean up the mess. I see about 120 or so here, intelligent, committed, young boys and girls. When did you go for a movie last? You? Yeah. When did you go for a movie last?
Last week.
Last week. Did you go alone? You took friends. So, you have friends. There's 100, 120 people here. You all have 5, 6, 7, 10 friends. When you go out, talk to them. 1 into 10. And they will talk to their friends. You have found time to come here to listen to us. Each one of us here, Suresh is, we call him a walking encyclopedia when it comes to human rights. You have the opportunity to listen to them. And when you go out, each one of you to 10 of your friends, and each one of them 10 of their friends. Share this experience. Create this force. Let Delhi hear you. Thank you so much.